Venturing beyond the city, the timeless wonders await at Giza. The pyramids, built around 2500 BC, were already myths in the 1500s. The Great Pyramid, originally 481 feet tall, had lost its casing to earthquakes and reuse, but its bulk, 2.3 million stone blocks, awed visitors. European travellers like Jean Thenot in 1512 climbed to the top, inscribing names, early graffiti. Locals charged fees for tours, spinning yarns about Pharaoh's treasures. The Sphinx, carved from bedrock, gazed east, its nose already damaged, not by Napoleon, as myth says, but earlier vandalism. Buried to its neck in sand, it inspired legends, a protector spirit or riddle giver. No hieroglyphs were decipherable. Arabic scholars like al-Makrizi speculated on its origins. Imagine stepping back in time to a world where pharaohs' tombs tower over bustling markets, where the mighty Nile pulses like the heartbeat of an empire, and where ancient wonders mix with the spice-scented air of global trade. Welcome to Egypt in the 1500s, a land caught between its legendary past and a new imperial future. This isn't just history, it's a living, breathing adventure. I'm your guide, and today we're embarking on an in-depth tour that will transport you right into the heart of this fascinating era. We'll explore the Nile's life-giving floods, wander the crowded streets of Cairo, marvel at ancient monuments, and uncover the daily lives of the people who called this place home. If you're ready to learn why Egypt was the jewel of the Ottoman Empire and how its secrets still echo today, hit that like button, subscribe for more time travel journeys, and let's dive in. First, let's set the historical stage to understand the bigger picture. The 1500s marked a pivotal turning point for Egypt. For over 2 centuries, the Mamluk Sultanate had ruled. These were originally slave soldiers from Central Asia and the Caucasus who rose to power, creating a dynasty known for their military prowess and stunning architecture. They defended Egypt against Mongol invasions and crusaders, turning Cairo into a cultural powerhouse. But by the early 1500s, the world was changing. Firearms were revolutionizing warfare, and empires were expanding. In 1516 to 1517, the Ottoman Empire, led by Sultan Selim I, nicknamed Selim the Grim for his ruthless ambition, launched a campaign that would reshape the region. The decisive Battle of Marj Dabit in Syria saw the Ottomans use advanced cannons to decimate the Mamluk cavalry. Then, they marched on Egypt, capturing Cairo after fierce street fighting. The last Mamluk Sultan was executed, and Egypt became an Ottoman province. But here's the relatable part. Think of it like a corporate merger. The Ottomans didn't fire everyone. They integrated the Mamluk elite into their system, keeping local governors called beys, who handled day-to-day affairs while sending tribute to Istanbul. Why was Egypt so valuable? It was like the empire's golden goose. Its fertile lands produced surplus food, its location controlled trade routes between Europe, Africa and Asia, and its wealth funded Ottoman wars and luxuries. Travelers' accounts from this era, like those of the Moroccan explorer Leo Africanus, who visited around 1517, paint a vivid picture. Born Hassan al-Wazan, he was captured by pirates and gifted to the Pope, where he wrote his famous Description of Africa. He described Egypt as a land of incredible fertility and bustling cities, but also noted the tensions post-conquest. Ottoman troops patrolling streets, locals adjusting to new taxes. These first-hand stories, combined with AI reconstructions using old maps, architectural digs, and illustrations, let us rebuild this world. We're not guessing, we're piecing together evidence to show you a society in full colour. Now, every story of Egypt begins and ends with the Nile, the river that made civilization possible. Stretching over 4,000 miles from its sources in East Africa to the Mediterranean, the Nile wasn't just a waterway, it was the lifeline, the calendar, and the economy all rolled into one. Imagine living in a place where your entire year revolves around a river's mood. Every summer, around July, heavy rains in Ethiopia caused the Nile to flood, depositing rich, black silt that fertilized the soil. This wasn't a destructive flood like we think of today. It was predictable and beneficial, turning the desert into a green paradise. Farmers waited eagerly for the waters to recede in October, then planted crops like wheat, barley, barley, lentils, onions and flax for making linen cloth. Lightweight and perfect for Egypt's hot climate. Sugarcane was a cash crop, exported for sweetening foods across the empire. The yield was astounding. Egypt could feed its 4 to 5 million people and still export grain to feed Istanbul's population of 500,000. Relate it to today, it's like how California's Central Valley supplies food to the US, but without modern tech, just clever engineering. Speaking of engineering, the Nile's banks were dotted with shadoufs and sakiyas, simple machines for irrigation. A shadouf was like a seesaw with a bucket on one end, lifted by hand to pour water into canals. Sakiyas were animal-powered wheels, oxen walking in circles to turn gears. These kept fields watered during dry seasons, ensuring multiple harvests. Villages along the river were self-sufficient communities, with mud brick homes that stayed cool in the heat. Families grew veggies in gardens, raised chickens and goats, and fished the river for Nile perch or tilapia. But the Nile was also a superhighway. No need for roads when you have a river flowing north with winds blowing south. Perfect for sailing upstream with the wind and drifting downstream with the current. Feluccas, those graceful wooden boats with lateen sails, carried passengers and light goods. Massive barges hauled grain, stone for building, or even obelisks. Picture a traffic jam on water, merchants shouting deals, pilgrims heading to holy sites, officials collecting tolls at checkpoints. And dangers? Crocodiles lurked in quieter stretches, and hippos could capsize boats, reminders that nature ruled. Religion tied into this too. Though Islam was dominant by the 1500s, with 90% of Egyptians Muslim after centuries of conversion, echoes of ancient beliefs lingered. The Nile's flood was once attributed to gods like Osiris, but now it was seen as Allah's blessing. Festivals marked the flood's arrival, with prayers and feasts. Sufi orders, mystical branches of Islam, were popular, with saints' tombs along the river becoming pilgrimage spots. As the Nile approaches its delta, the grand city of Cairo comes into view. Al-Qahira, the victorious, founded in 969 by the Fatimids. In the 1500s, it was a megacity by any standard, with perhaps 200,000 to 400,000 residents, rivaling Paris or Constantinople. From above, it sprawled like a living organism, districts growing organically around mosques and markets rather than grid plans. The air shimmered with heat, dust from the desert mixing with smoke from bakeries and forges. Towering over it all was the citadel, perched on the Muqattam Hills. Built by Saladin in 1176 to defend against invaders, it was a city within a city, fortified walls enclosing palaces, barracks, mosques and prisons. Under Ottoman rule, the Pasha, the governor sent from Istanbul, resided here, overseeing a bureaucracy that managed everything from justice to water supply. Imagine the view from its towers, the Nile snaking below, pyramids in the distance, the city buzzing like a beehive. Soldiers, often Turkish or Circassian, trained with arquebuses, early guns, alongside traditional bows, blending old and new warfare. Life inside the citadel was a mix of luxury and duty. Harems housed the governor's family, with eunuchs guarding intricate gardens and fountains. Administrators pored over ledgers, calculating taxes. A portion of every harvest went to the empire, funding wars against Persians or Europeans. But corruption was rife. Beys often skimmed profits, leading to revolts like the one in 1523, when locals briefly ousted Ottoman forces. Descending to the streets, Cairo transforms into a sensory overload, relatable to anyone who's wandered a busy souk today. Narrow, winding alleys shaded by overhanging balconies kept the sun at bay. Homes were multi-generational, with ground floors for shops or animals, upper levels for living quarters. Women managed households, weaving textiles or preparing meals like ful madams, fava beans, or molokhia soup, flavoured with garlic and coriander. Men worked as artisans, farmers, or merchants. Social structure was layered. At the top, Ottoman officials and Mamluk beys, then ulama, religious scholars, merchants, craftsmen, and peasants. Slavery existed, but many slaves were household servants or soldiers with paths to freedom. Diversity was key. Arabs, Turks, Berbers, Africans, even Europeans in trading enclaves. Jews and Coptic Christians. About 10% of the population had their quarters, paying extra taxes but practicing freely under dhimmi status. The heartbeat of commerce was Khan el-Khalili, a labyrinthine bazaar established in the 1300s. Picture vaulted arcades sheltering stalls piled with goods, vibrant spices like saffron and cumin from India, transforming bland meals into feasts, aromatic coffee beans from Yemen, brewed strong and shared in cafes where men debated politics, luxurious silks from Persia, dyed in blues and golds for robes, ivory and gold from Africa, crafted into jewellery. Haggling was an art. Start high, banter, sip tea, seal the deal. Caravans arrived from the Sahara or Red Sea, camels laden with wares, guarded against bandits. Languages echoed this global mix. Arabic for everyday, Turkish for officials, Persian for poetry, European tongues for trade. The bazaar wasn't just shopping, it was networking. Deals here influenced prices from Venice to Vijayanagara. And taxes? The Ottomans levied customs duties, fueling their treasury. Just a stone's throw away stood Al-Azhar Mosque, a beacon of learning since 970. As a university, it drew thousands of students. Think a medieval Oxford with Islamic flair. Curriculum covered fiqh, jurisprudence, hadith, prophetic traditions, maths for astronomy, crucial for prayer times and navigation, and even poetry. Teaching was oral. Sheikhs lectured in halakat, students memorizing texts. Room and board were free via endowments, making education accessible. Notable alumni included reformers and scientists. Women attended lectures from behind screens, and some became scholars themselves. Cairo's architecture told tales of power. Mamluk masterpieces like the Sultan Hassan Mosque, 1356, featured massive portals, intricate muqarnas, honeycomb vaulting, and Quranic inscriptions. These weren't just buildings, they were propaganda, showcasing wealth through madrasas, schools attached for teaching. Nearby necropolises held tombs raided long ago, but their paintings hinted at lost knowledge. Northward, Alexandria beckoned, founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC as a Hellenistic hub. By the 1500s, earthquakes and wars had diminished it to 50,000 residents, but it remained Egypt's gateway to the sea. The harbour, protected by reused Pharos stones, buzzed with galleys from Venice, Genoa and Istanbul. Grain exports were massive. Think convoys of ships carrying wheat to avert famines in Europe. European consuls negotiated trade rights, importing woolens and metals, exporting cotton and rice. The city was cosmopolitan. Greek Orthodox churches, Jewish synagogues, Muslim mosques coexisted. Ruins abounded. The Serapeum's columns repurposed, the library's site a memory. Travellers sought Cleopatra's Needles, obelisks, blending tourism with trade. Heading south to Upper Egypt, the pace slows. Villages like those near Thebes were clusters of flat-roofed homes where life followed ancient rhythms. Farmers used ard ploughs pulled by oxen, sowing seeds by hand. Diets were wholesome. Emmer wheat bread, veggies, beer as a staple drink, safer than water. Families were extended, with elders respected for wisdom. Community revolved around the mosque or church for Copts. Festivals like Moulids celebrated saints, with music, dancing and sweets. Ancient temples at Luxor and Karnak, with hyper-style halls of 134 columns, were partly ruined, but used as quarries or stables. Hieroglyphs, called bird writing by locals, fueled folklore, tales of magic and curses. Women's roles were vital, managing homes, crafting pottery. Education was basic, but Quran schools taught reading. Health? Herbal remedies from papyrus plants, with barbers as surgeons. Under Ottoman rule, Egypt saw innovations like new crops, tobacco from the Americas, smoked in hookahs, and coffee houses as social hubs. But challenges loomed. Plagues struck periodically, like in 1523, decimating populations. Bedouin raids on caravans required military escorts. Yet resilience shone. Irrigation projects expanded farmland and trade boomed. Egypt in the 1500s was a tapestry of eras. Pharaonic echoes under Ottoman banners, Mamluk grandeur fueling global trade. This tour reveals how history layers, adapting without erasing. From the Nile's floods to Cairo's calls to prayer, it's a story of endurance. Please subscribe and share what captivated you most in the comments.
Hey there, thanks for watching. My goal with these videos and this channel is to use AI in a way that educates and inspires viewers. If you like that mission, please support our work by subscribing and watching more episodes. Thanks.